From West Side Crenshaw Mafia. That's like a California gang that gravitated, to Denver. So, my section is Bloods. So, that's what I've been involved in for more than 15 years.
Do you remember the first crime you ever committed?
It made me feel on top of the world. Like I could still feel what it felt like the night that I caught my first big case. I caught 12 felonies that night.
What do you think was the most violent thing you witnessed there during that first stay?
Being white in like a black and Mexican gang, it was like, like my section in Denver is Mexican Bloods, but Bloods is obviously like a black gang, So I had to prove myself that much more, especially in prison.
Alec Hackney was just 17 years old when he went to prison for attempted murder. He spent nearly a decade behind bars, got stabbed in the head, shot on the streets, and lived as a blood inside Colorado's prison system. But today, he's a completely different man, sober, successful, and helping others rebuild their lives. This is his story. Alec, welcome to Locked In, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
We were saying that you're 1090 Jake's lookalike.
That's funny. That's very
Shout out
funny.
to 1090 Jake.
Yeah, shout out, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man.
Yeah, I'd like to meet him sometime.
Yeah.
I watched a few of his videos before.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to send him this so that way he could see his
for
twin.
Sure. Yeah, it's funny.
Where are you from?
I'm from Denver.
That's where
Denver,
you came
Colorado.
from today?
Yep. Actually, this is my first time like being this far east. So, I never been to New York. So we spent the last couple of days like on Madison Avenue and going to Saks and just checking out Times Square and driving around, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan and stuff, checking out some mafia spots and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Dude, we got stuck yesterday for 5 hours.
Bro, it was a crazy, crazy flood. I was telling Matt that there was this guy walking in New Jersey and his pants were completely soaked and he's like, don't walk under that bridge. So I guess 2 people died yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, my girl seen it on TikTok. 2 people died in the flood.
Yeah, I saw the subways getting flooded, but we were stuck dead stop traffic on the highway. I was live streaming or putting we had so much content. I think I posted like 60 Snapchats just from that area. And then I was putting it on Facebook, but it was bad. We were stuck there. We were going to see the guy I did the Mr. Beast video with to do his podcast.
Yeah.
And then we just dead stopped traffic. We left at 2 o'clock. We got home at 10 o'clock, never made it over there.
I didn't even think about the subways. I bet they got hit.
They always get hit every time. Like you see the videos of them just getting flooded with rain down. It's insane. People are posting from their apartments too. The streets flooded. It's so bad.
That's horrible, bro. That's crazy. Yeah. There was like, we went to see the Statue of Liberty and we were like walking out and we had like our hoods like Kenny from South Park, like, and it was like sideways rain, bro. It was crazy, but we got some videos.
Yeah.
The Statue of Liberty and stuff. It was pretty cool.
I've still never been to the Statue of Liberty.
Really? Yeah. We were very far from it, but at least we got to like get it on camera and stuff.
That's awesome.
Wanted to see it. So
tell everyone about your businesses.
So I own 3 businesses. 2 are have to do with like recovery and reentry. I was looking at one of your canvases outside. It's pretty dope that quote, because that's basically like our whole business model is, helping people that are, justice involved individuals, reenter from incarceration. I focus with my one business that I own 100% of is Gold Standard Recovery. We focus just on one halfway house actually in the metro area. It's like south of Denver in Littleton called ACRC. And we just help basically anybody coming out from DOC or the county jails that come there get all their basic needs like their ID, social security card, birth certificate, help them get transportation resources, employment, build stability and eventually like housing and help them with parole and stuff like that. I have 7 employees with that business. And then I have 2 employees with Empower Reentry, and that's like the sober living side. So we have a 5,000 square foot house in Littleton, Colorado. It's like a Southern style house. It's very nice. And it's actually just specifically for people coming out of DOC. So there's been 5 people there. There's only 2 there right now, but it has 14 bed spaces. So, if anybody's listening from Denver that needs, housing that's coming out of DOC, definitely,
Awesome. We'll have the links in the description of this episode.
Definitely.
What was growing up in Denver like?
I moved there actually. I lived in 4 different states. So I was born in Utah and I lived in California for a little bit and actually like Nebraska. My grandma lived in Nebraska and I moved to Colorado when I was like 12. So, it was just, I gravitated towards the streets. I was always, like in the city, just around negative influences, and I was gravitated towards that, like I went to prison at a real young age. I was doing a lot of robberies. I started selling drugs when I was like 12 years old. I started selling weed, and then just gradually like got deeper and deeper into it. Started selling coke and started selling heroin and meth and all that stuff, and got really deep into the gang life, and um, I would front out, I'd front out work, and then what happened with my first case. My first case was an attempted murder robbery, and I was only 17 at the time, but I had fronted out some dope, and dude never paid me back. So me and my friends were drunk, and we kicked in his door and zip tied him and everything, and um, I got 5 years. I got direct filed charges as an adult when I was 17, and I ended up I was looking at 16 to 32 years. I ended up getting 5 years at YOS, which is like a youth prison in Colorado, in southern Colorado, where you have to do like boot camp. So it's like heavy, military style. Like they cape you, and you have to do like what's called like 0 day, like in the military, where you have to work out for like 6 hours straight. I actually threw up, and I'm like it was just a crazy experience with all that. And I had to do the boot camp 4 different times because I kept having to come back for remediation and stuff. And I got out of prison there, out of the youth prison. And it's like 6 months later, I I got locked up again for gun charges, and it was just continuously, man, just for basically 10 years in and out. I did 10 years pretty much on and off. So the longest I did consecutively was like 3.5 though.
Why do you guys move around a lot as a child?
My dad got different jobs. So like, when we lived in Utah, um, he worked for a company called Winter Steiger. It was like a skiing company, and he would just get different jobs and kind of be away like a lot. When I was a kid, like he'd be gone for like like a year at a time or like a year and a half at a time, and then we'd move and follow him. That's what happened. He moved to Denver before us, so it was me and my mom and my sister, and then we like kind of followed him to Denver. Like so. Um, yeah, it was just kind of like we just move around all over the place. It was just like kind of like wasn't stable, until I was like in my young teenage years, and then we moved to Colorado and just stayed.
Did they have good jobs?
Um, my mom worked from home. She like kind of sold stuff on eBay and stuff, but I mean it was like, like medial. It wasn't, like we definitely didn't come from like crazy money or anything, but it was like medial jobs. My dad got a kind of a good job at the UP. He worked for the Union Pacific Railroad, but wasn't nothing crazy by all means.
Did
So
your parents stay together your whole childhood?
they did, but they had problems. Like like they just, I mean, they tried their best to stay together, but it was kind of, it was a very hard relationship, because he was always working and he was always on call, so he'd come home and be tired, and he drank a lot. I mean, my dad drank every day. He was definitely like a functioning alcoholic. So like he was responsible enough to like stop drinking so he could go to work. But I mean, when he got home, he would drink and stuff. You know what I mean? So, and I mean, he did drugs like when like in his younger years and stuff. So I think that is kind of what I found out after he passed away. That was one of the reasons we moved around a lot too. But he definitely kept that a secret from me. I mean, he didn't try to sit down and relate to me at all. Like when I went through all my drug problem.
Do you
So
wish he did?
yeah, most definitely. I definitely wish I did. I wish that he did. I wish that I could have talked to him a lot more about that type of stuff, because it really hurts me now that he's gone. He passed away in 2021. So like, I wish that he would have that would have meant so much for him to sit down and be like, I know what you're going through, because I just felt so outcasted from my family and so judged, because like in my family, I'm one of the only gang members. I'm one of the only people that have been to prison. Like I have some uncles, that are into all that stuff and everything. But like as far as like my immediate family, I was around females growing up. I was around all females. So it was just like my mom, my sister, my aunties, my grandma, my great grandma. Like I grew up with all females. So I definitely felt like, an outcast. Like when I started gang banging and selling drugs and stuff, I just felt like I couldn't relate to anybody in my family at all.
Were you getting into trouble at all before you got to Colorado?
No, not really. I mean, I guess I was kind of troubled like when I was younger. Like I would get in trouble at school a lot. Like I would get in fights and stuff like that, but it wasn't like trouble with like the law. Like I wasn't like going outside the house because I was real young, like when I lived in other states, I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. So I wasn't like, I guess I was doing stuff like that. I was like running the streets and, like stealing and stuff like that, but it didn't get like really bad until I got to Colorado, and then it gradually got way worse.
What do you think was that trigger in Colorado that led you down that path?
Being around gangs, like I never really like lived in like a big city until I moved to Denver. Like it was like I was like the bus system. I wasn't really like there wasn't a bus system in the other cities that I lived in, and moving from I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska before we moved to Colorado. So being there, it's like really like rural area, and moving to Denver is like a culture shock. Like it was like city, and it was like this is where I belong. And I just felt like with I mean, I love my family, but it felt like kind of like a broken like family unit. Like it was like I couldn't relate to anybody in my family, like I said. So, um, when I got around like the gang life, it was like this is my family. And I had like a distorted thought. Like I obviously don't think about that like that now, but I definitely saw them as family. Now thinking back in retrospect, I definitely saw like all my homies as my family for sure. Up until a couple. I mean, I still do. I still love all them, shout out all them, but like probably more than 50 or 60% of them are on drugs or, have just like made a bad name for themselves, like, became like rats or sex offenders or what, all this shit. So it's like, you know what I mean?
What kind of gangs are in Colorado or in Denver?
In Denver specifically, I mean, my section is the west side, so that's like all, Colfax, which is the longest avenue in America. So it's Colfax Avenue to Federal Boulevard up to Alameda, Alameda to Sheridan, back to Colfax. So that's like the west side of Denver. That's where I'm from. And then I mean, my neighborhood's Bloods. There's Crips. There's GKI, Sureños, Northsiders, NSM. That's like north side of Denver. There's Westwood Hoods. There's like I was telling Matt, there's like 100 different gangs in Denver, bro. It's like you hear of new shit all the time too.
And what gang did you gravitate to?
I'm from West Side Crenshaw Mafia. That's like a California gang that gravitated, to Denver. So, I mean, my section is Bloods. So, I mean, that's what I've been involved in for more than 15 years, probably like 18 years now.
What attracted you to that?
Really just being around it, seeing it. I mean, I seen like my older homies like in the Lolos and stuff, and with like being all flamed up, and I just that's maybe it was music. I mean, there's a lot of things that just made me gravitate towards that. And it was more so I think if I would have been around a different section, like if I would have hung out in a different section or been around, like there was a house that I stayed in across the street from the projects that I would like trap from and everything, that I had like a family member that lived in, and that's really why. So if it would have been in a different area, then maybe I would have been from somewhere else, but that's just kind of like how it happened. That's just how it played out.
Is there something your parents could have done differently to keep you away from that life?
I don't think so. I mean, I think about that a lot, and I mean, I feel like they were as loving as they could be. My mom did as much as she could for me growing up. Same, I mean, I could say the same about my dad. Like they just maybe like I think maybe if my dad was around a little bit more, but he was always working. I mean, I think that I get my work ethic from him definitely. So like now I've changed everything from putting all my energy into the streets to like my businesses now. So I feel like I get my work ethic from him for sure, but I'm trying not to turn into that with my kids because I'm about to have my first kid in April. So I definitely don't want to like just focus on just my business. Like I actually want to have, a relationship with my kids and not be away from them all the time and stuff.
Well, congratulations. That's
Thank you,
awesome.
brother.
That's
Yeah,
very
for sure.
exciting.
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Did you finish high school or did you catch a case before finishing?
So I did great in middle school. I was actually like in AP math. I was in honors math and everything. In 8th grade, I was doing like 10th grade math and stuff. But like high school, I basically dropped out at a young age. So like I think I went to high school for a few months, maybe a little bit longer than that, but I didn't finish on the streets. I really gravitated towards just making money and selling drugs and stuff. And then I was forced to go to I was forced to go to high school in prison. So at YOS, they have like a high school inside. It's the only high school in DOC in Colorado because Colorado has, I think, 28 or 29 male facilities and two female facilities, but they don't have any high schools. They have GED programs, but that's the only high school that's actually in DOC in Colorado is like the youth YOS. So I graduated from Century High School at YOS in Pueblo, Colorado. So that's like where my diploma is from, is like from Century High School. So like if you know anything about that, that's like, DOC diploma.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this sports season. Whether you're a football fan, a basketball fan, or both like me, it always feels good to be right. Now, when I was the one locked in, the only fantasy lineups we had were for rec yard basketball, and trust me, nobody was picking the guy with the commissary belly. But now I get to put my sports knowledge to work the smart way with Prize Picks, and it's simple. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats and watch your lineup come to life. This week, I'm taking Dak Prescott. More passing yards against the Raiders defense. Dak's got way too many weapons not to hit his projection. I'm also locking in Ashton Jeanty, more rushing yards because the Cowboys defense has been letting runs through all season, and this powerhouse back knows how to take advantage. And finally, Cade Cunningham, more assists. With his hip injury, I see him dishing it off all game against the broken Pacers team. You can even stack players in the same lineup or follow others directly on the app. It's that easy. Plus, with injury reboots, if one of your players leaves early, it doesn't count against you, which is way more fair than the system I used to deal with. So don't sit on the sidelines. Make your own lineup today. Download the Prize Picks app and use code Ian Bick to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Ian Bick to get $50 in lineups after your first play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
And were you living at home during your teenage years, or were you out of the house at that point?
I had my own apartment. Like I didn't want to break my mom's heart and stuff. So I didn't want to I didn't tell her some of the things that I was doing. I was only coming home for a few weekdays or whatever. And by the time I was 15, I mean, I would walk around with a few $1,000s in my pocket at a time. And I had traded like an ounce of coke every month for an apartment with this crackhead chick that I knew. And I had my own apartment when I was like 15, 16 years old. So that's what really led to all this. Like it was right outside the area where I got put on, like right across the street from the projects, but it was like a little bit further, like down the hill from the gas station. So I had like my own apartment that I would trap out of. And I was really young doing a lot of these things that adults were doing. I was hanging out with adults and being influenced by adults at a really young age. Like I didn't hang out with anybody my age. It was really like older, like 21, 22, 23-year-olds when I was like 15, 16 years old, so I was being heavily influenced, and I was kind of like now looking back, I was kind of like get put on dummy missions and shit, like it was just crazy. Like I was very easily influenced in my younger years.
Do you remember the first crime you ever committed?
Like heavy crime, I'd say it was probably like a home invasion robbery or something, or robbing somebody at gunpoint. Like I definitely did that a lot when I was younger, but it wasn't like to innocent people. It was like somebody that I had vision had a target on them, you know what I mean? Because they, owed my homie money or they had done some shit. Like I remember one time, there was this guy that raped one of my homegirls, and I robbed him at gunpoint, I made like $1,000, and I thought I was the man. Like I just felt like on top of the world after that. I was like, felt like I had accomplished street justice, and I just had this burst of energy over me. Like, this is it. Like I could do this forever. Like this is the answer. You know what I mean? So, but I can't remember specifically what it was, but it was probably one of those. Like I wasn't really big into stealing cars. That's huge in Denver. A lot of people steal cars in the city, like in Denver, Aurora, Lakewood. I was never really into that. I was never into stealing cars and stuff. I had bought stolen cars off of people, but I never like actually was the one that stole them because my mom my mom lost a lot of money from scams and people taking advantage of her and stuff like that when I was younger. So I'd kind of feel for innocent people. I still had morals. Like it might not sound like that in that world of you taking place and doing those things, but I definitely felt like I had a moral system. Like I wasn't gonna do anything, like violent or like crimes towards innocent people.
When you were doing these things, how did you feel? How did it make you feel?
It made me feel on top of the world. Like I could still feel what it felt like the night that I caught my first big case. I caught 12 felonies that night, 12 violent felonies. I was facing 16 to 32 years for each one. Um, but I felt like on top of the world, like I had, accomplished something, like I was untouchable, like I was Superman, like I just felt like the king of the streets at that point. You know what I mean?
No, you said the word dummy mission. What does that mean?
So I don't I've heard different phrases for it. Um like, on this side of the country, or maybe like a missile or something, you know what I mean? Like something like that. Like when you're younger, and especially now, because I just got out of prison in 2023. So, and when I was there, I had the unit from my homies. This is totally different than what I'm doing now. It's completely different worlds. But when you're in there, like you do what you have to do, And I ran that unit in Ben County for my homies, and there was younger homies that I would send on missions and stuff. They'd be those dummies, you know what I mean? Those crash dummies, I guess is what you would call them. You know what I mean?
And what kind of mission would you send them on?
To not go too far into details, just like when something needed to be handled, like just like go take care of that. Like maybe, I guess more so what I could speak on is like, when somebody in the car would get out of line, it's like, go handle that. And if you don't, then you're going to get your ass beat. You know what I mean?
Do you remember the first dummy mission you were sent on years before when you were a kid?
On the streets, most definitely. In prison, yes, because I went to prison in different stages of life, so many different times. Like I've been locked up more times than I can count, but I've been to prison 4 times. And when I was younger, like the first time I went to adult prison, it was like that's what it was right away. It's like I had to fight like all the time. I mean, I was always the one, and especially being white in like a black and Mexican gang, it was like like my section in Denver's Mexican Bloods, but I mean, the Bloods is obviously like a black gang, So I had to prove myself that much more, especially in prison, So I definitely did. I mean, this like the second or third time I went to prison, it was one of those times, that I was sent on a mission to go handle something, and I ended up getting stabbed in the head. I got 6 staples in my head. Still see the scar right here. But yeah, I still remember it like it was yesterday, like um it was my first day in the unit, and my homie was like, "Hey, dude's up there, and I had problems with this dude. He's like, you need to go handle that right away, and I'm like, shit, let's go, So I went up the stairs, and I went in the cell. We started fighting, and then somewhere in the tussle, he pulled out a blade and started hitting me in the head. So, and I didn't think it was as bad until I was like in handcuffs and my head's just gushing blood. So like I got sent to the hole, and when I'm in the hole, I'm telling the CO like, hey, my head's bleeding, and they looked at it and they were like, oh shit, and they took me out right away, took me to medical, and I had to get staples in my head, and I was like in and out of consciousness. I still remember, bro, like I had these vivid dreams. It was like movies. Like I could still remember exactly what it was. Like I thought I was dead or something. It was like in and out. So
How'd they not realize you were bleeding before they threw you in the shoe?
I don't know. I mean, I think that the cop that put me in the handcuffs was so pissed off that he didn't care, because I remember saying something about it. I told them that my head was bleeding, like I could tell like that it was bleeding, but it didn't start like gushing until I started messing with it. You know what I mean? Like I seen it, and I don't think it was as bad until I like kind of pulled it open, you know what I mean? And it started like gushing, and I'm like, hey, it wasn't like all over the place, but it was enough,
Now, when you say knife, was it like a prison made type thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It wasn't like a actual, like razor blade or anything. It was just like a prison made, like probably out of like a toothbrush or something.
You're lucky you didn't get any type of infection or anything after that.
Yeah, most definitely. I worry about that stuff. I get checked like every 6 months for like Hep and HIV and all that
Because of
stuff.
that stabbing, or?
Not for that. I think just in general, like I get blood work done and stuff because I just get, like I'm really nervous about stuff like that. But I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything crazy anymore. But especially like when I was in the streets and stuff, I get nervous every time, even though I'm not like doing things that, would make me susceptible to something like that. It's still like, something that I worry about, I guess.
Do you still have any after effects from that stabbing?
Yeah, I think that I mean, I have a TBI for sure. I haven't, like, gone to the doctor and actually, like, talked to them about that, but, every time I get locked up, they ask me if I have a TBI, and I tell them about that, and they document it and everything, but I'd say, like, it hasn't, like, made me slow, like, mentally or anything, so, I think I'm pretty sharp still, but
Did they say if it was like a inch closer to this, you would have been, maybe dead, or was it not that severe?
no, I don't think that it went in very far. I think it was just it was long, like, I think it kinda nicked me, but, I mean, I staples is pretty deep, if you have to have, like, staples, and I think it's, like, on your head, they can't really, like, do stitching, so that's why they had to do, like, the staples, but
Did they do it at the prison, or they brought you to the
yeah,
hospital?
no, they did it at the prison.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't even
yeah,
know they were equipped for that.
yeah. I'm trying to think now. I think I did go to the hospital now that I think about it. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I do. I went to the hospital. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I went to the hospital.
So now, when you're 17, tell us about this robbery that lands you in prison the first time.
So, okay, so um it was actually like somebody that I was not friends with, but an acquaintance with. Like he's actually passed away now, but um I had been, selling him drugs for a while. He he owed me some money. He owed me about 600 or 700 bucks, and I was, I mean, that's a lot to anybody. And I felt like, like he was trying to punk me or something. I went over to his house and he had money and everything, and I'm like, "What's up with that bread?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll get it to you on Monday," like kind of shaking me off in front of these females. So I'm like this is not going down like that. So we went back to the house where we were partying at down the street, and just kind of like hatched the plan. Like my homie was gassing me up. He's like, "Man, you got to go take care of that." So I'm like, "Yep." So we loaded up with guns and knives, just shit that we didn't really need. It's kind of unnecessary, but we just went through the streets through the night. It was like the middle of the night, and they were all up partying at this house, and we went up this balcony and kicked in this door and tied everybody up with like duct tape and stuff, and I had shot next to his head, and just a lot of stupid shit, that I did in my adolescence, just thinking, that I was the man, that I was, that I should have taken justice in my own hands. But there was 5 people in the house, and it was about 2 days later that I was walking down the street, and I was drunk. I had a bottle of E&J in my backpack, and the cops surrounded me, tackled me, busted my eyebrow open, and that's pretty much what started it all.
How'd they know it was you that did that robbery?
His mom actually was the one that like called the cops. I don't think he did, but I know his mom did when she found out about it, because it was her house.
But still, how would they know it was you?
Because he identified me. They knew it was me.
You guys weren't wearing masks or anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all.
Don't you think you should be wearing some masks if
most
you're gonna pull
definitely.
something off like that?
Most definitely. I feel like they would have known either way, but it was just like it was that ego, bro. Like, that ego trip. Like I just thought I was untouchable.
Now, when you guys were doing those types of crimes, was the intent ever to hurt anyone, or is it all for show?
I'd say it's situational, like was it for money, or was it for, pride, or was it for, the for the moral system of it all? Like I think it just depends, like um I'd say money was definitely a motivator and things like that, but it wasn't like the root of it. The root of it would always be like, the guy owed me money, so it was a principal issue. It wasn't like it was just for the money, you know what I mean? But that was just a plus. That was just like,
Tell us about this boot camp that you got sentenced to for those 5 years.
So so I went to county as a 17-year-old. I got direct filed as an adult, sentenced as an adult. I actually pled to like a aggravated robbery. Um And I had known about this place because it's like the only like youth prison in Colorado, and it's for only violent offenders. So everybody there is a gang member. Everybody there is like there for like murder, attempted murder. You know, like the longest you can do there is 7 years. So there's people there for juvenile life. You know, that are there for first degree murder. You know, second degree murder and stuff. So I went through that boot camp for a month and a half where it's just intense and it's like a tier system, so you have to like build your way out of it, you know what I mean? So I went through that and I learned a lot of things about myself in that boot camp, like not to be easily misled. I still remember all the language, you know, I still remember everything that they taught us about, you know, easily angered, not being misled, easily misled, you know, basically a lot about confidence, a lot about being a man, you know, things that you don't really you don't really grasp when you're that young, you know, and you have to learn these things, you know, like when you're older. I think that I always lead back to that about confidence because, you know, I was on drugs for 5 years. I've been sober for about 7 years now, but I was on drugs for 5 years and I just wasn't confident in myself. I feel like a lot of people say that connection is the opposite of addiction, but I think that confidence as well is the opposite. You know, once you're confident enough to be able to hold value, I feel like, you know, that's what can lead you out of that. You know, obviously it takes a lot of physical work and it takes, you know, going through the withdrawals or whatever, but those things, you know, I try not to let that define me. Like a lot of people meet me and they find out a few months later, they're like, "You were on drugs." I'm like, "Yeah," you know, but I try not to let that define me or really talk about it at all unless it's like relevant. You know what I mean?
Do you think you chose to do most of your actions because they were drug fueled? You were on drugs?
I'd say so later on. Like I actually, so this is crazy. Like I sold drugs when I was younger, like when I was, you know, like I said, like I graduated up to where, you know, to before I went to prison. But when I was 17, I hadn't done any hard drugs at that point. I had done it after I had got out. So like I continued to, you know, commit crimes after I had got out of prison that first time when I feel like I should have learned a lesson with all the boot camp and with all the programming I went through and everything. I should have learned a lesson, but I just don't think that it was. I don't know if it wasn't a long enough period of being away or if it was just the place I was at was so negative and full of, you know, so many just like violent kids and gang members and stuff that I was just like I feel like it just made it worse, you know. So like I got out and all my same friends, all my same homies that had told me not to do drugs, my older homies, some of them were on drugs and stuff. And then I went back to prison for a gun and I seen my homies doing drugs and I was like, man, I just kind of got on the bandwagon that way, you know?
Wouldn't this boot camp be a little bit stricter than like a prison or jail and kind of separate the gangs and violence and all of that?
So it's boot camp for the first month and a half, but once you graduate that, you're thrown to the wolves. Like you go down the hill, they call it, to the facility, and it is a program, but it's not ran the way it's supposed to. It's really loose. You know what I mean? Like I've heard it's changed a lot. I haven't been there since I think 2013, but um there's cameras in the rooms now, I heard, and stuff like that. But I mean, it wasn't like that when I was there. It was really crazy, you know, like people were getting beat up all the time. It's like enough to where they do body checks every night. Like they make you like pull up your shirt and take your pants off and everything to check your legs and your limbs and everything for bruises and stuff like that. They do that every night there.
Well, what do you think was the most violent thing you witnessed there during that first stay?
Um It was, I mean, there was a lot of crazy shit that I saw there. Like there was definitely like a lot of fights that looked like murder scenes and stuff. People, you know, like get beat up so bad, but it wasn't like there wasn't a lot of weapons, you know, in there in that juvenile facility because they had it so tight knit. Like it was a maximum security facility and they were always searching everything and stuff like that. And we're all kids, right? Like there's like 13-year-olds in there up to 27. You could be 27 and be there, you know, if you're there for those 7 years or whatever. So there's a big range of people, but they have it on lock. I'd say like the craziest thing that I seen was probably my second time going to prison. And this is when I went to adult prison. Um, there was this Northsider that they were taking off. You know, he had done something. I don't know. Like that's all their business. I had just seen and from what I had heard and stuff. And I was really young at the time, but they had this dude in the cell and they had him on the ground. There's people holding him on the ground, and they have these big lock boxes. There's these metal lock boxes where you keep your stuff that that you have locked up and everything. And they put one of those on top of this dude's head and jump from the top bunk onto it. And they were just doing that over and over a few times. I didn't see that happening, but I seen the aftermath of it. And I seen the dude walk out of the room, and the room looked like a murder scene. And this dude's eyeball was hanging out of his head. So yeah, I seen that I walked right by it when that was happening.
Did he die?
No. He kept it gangster, bro. He went and rushed somebody on the yard right after that. Like he ate the case. Like he didn't snitch on them. He kept it gangster, bro. Like he went to yard right after that. He went back to his cell as best he could. I mean, they eventually found out what happened, obviously, because the room was so bad. But he kept it gangster. He went to the yard and rushed somebody. But I mean, that injury doesn't happen in just a normal fist fight.
Yeah, I've heard of guys sharing stories about like the lock in the sock to someone's head and the eyeball coming out and stuff.
That lock in the sock is pretty universal, I think, all over the world, because that's really like the heaviest object that you can get in prison, and it's really easy to put around a sock and hit somebody with that.
This episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is like tinted windows for your internet connection. You could see out, but they can't see in. And let's be honest, wouldn't you want that same privacy online? Because right now, when you're scrolling, streaming, or even sending emails, your internet provider could see everything you do. And in the US, they're legally allowed to sell that information to advertisers. That's wild. It's basically like leaving your cell door wide open and hoping no one snoops through your stuff. And trust me, that never ends well. That's where ExpressVPN comes in. It reroutes 100% of your traffic through secure encrypted servers, so no one, not your internet provider, not hackers, not even the government, can see what you're doing online. It hides your IP address, making it nearly impossible for anyone to track your activity. It's super easy to use, too. Just open the app, hit one button, and boom, you're protected. I use it every time I'm connected to public Wi-Fi, airports, coffee shops, even hotels, because I'm not trying to let some stranger out there log into my life like it's open rec time. And here's what I love about ExpressVPN. It works on every device, phones, laptops, tablets, even smart TVs, so your privacy follows you everywhere. It's also rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge, and their new Identity Defender feature can even remove your personal data from brokers and alert you if it ends up on the dark web, kind of like having a guard watching your digital back 24/7. So if you value your privacy or just don't want anyone going through your digital contraband, it's time to lock it down. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/lockedin. That's expressvpn.com/lockedin to find out how you could get up to 4 extra months free. That's expressvpn.com/lockedin.
Did that facility have any programs or anything for you to set you up for success when you got out, or?
Yeah, I mean they have what's called phase 2. So like you leave from there and you go like out in the community for 90 days and they help you find a job. They actually take you from Pueblo to Denver, which is 3 hours away, and they like help you find a job and stuff like that. It's just I did good for a little while when I got out of there, but I just wasn't really interested, man. Like I said, I fell into the drugs real heavy, like I could have taken advantage of that stuff. The same programs that have helped me accomplish what I've accomplished now is what I could have taken advantage of that, but like I said, I just wasn't really interested. I was still real early in my gangbanging days, and I was just like trying, had something to prove, and I wasn't confident in myself, and I didn't feel right, and I was just looking for something more, and I just gravitated towards the streets and just continuously got worse, like I fell really, really, really bad into drugs, like more than I'd like to admit, and I had a girlfriend that passed away in 2015. That really hit me kind of hard, and made me fall deeper into it. And it wasn't until I actually like went to therapy, and I used to think all that stuff was like gay, I thought that was lame and stuff like that. So, like once I took it serious, once I actually took the therapy serious, and I really encourage anybody to do that, like actually like give it a chance, but once I did that, once I went to therapy and stuff and got all the emotions out and everything out, how I was feeling, and started building my confidence, is when I really seen, what I was doing was so negative, and my thinking was so negative and jaded. So, um,
What was your drug of choice?
opiates, but I kind of did everything. I mean, I did benzos and amphetamines and all that stuff. So, I mean, I kind of like, after that happened, that was such a tragic event for me. After that happened, it was like I didn't care about anything. Like, I was going that much harder in the streets. Like, even though I was on drugs, I was in the streets. Like, I was shooting at people. I was getting shot at. I was still, doing the most, robbing people. It wasn't as excessive as when I was younger. Like, I wasn't like kicking doors and stuff like that, but I was definitely like, robbing drug dealers and shit like that, and just trying to get money. And sometimes I'd be up, sometimes I'd be down. And it was just like a really, negative way to live. Like, it was just horrible. So, I'm really blessed. I feel really blessed. A lot of things have happened since then, man. Like, in 2021, I got indicted. Uh, Let me back up a little bit. So, like, when I quit doing drugs is because I got shot. And I was like, I didn't quit in that moment. I tell a lot of people that I did, like, that was the day that I was done or whatever, but that was the day I was done in my mind. But it took a little bit to like get off of it or whatever. But I decided, like, I could make a lot of money like not doing the drugs. So I'm like, I'm gonna still sell drugs. So I continued to do that while I was working during COVID and stuff like that. And um I got indicted, and I met my girl in 2021, and we were together for like 3 months, and I wasn't really doing any of that. Like, I was kind of ducked off, just chilling. But I got indicted in 2021, about 3 months after I met her, and I was on parole already. So I was like, fuck, man, like, I'm gonna be gone for a minute. So I'm explaining to her, I'm like, man, like, I love you, but I got, like, I'm gonna have to go to prison for a while. Like, so you don't have to like stick around if you don't want to. I totally understand. And she was like, no, 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 we'll see. Like, we'll see what's going on. So I'm like, I'm gonna turn myself in 3 weeks. She's like, okay, cool. So that day comes. It was August 1st of 2021, and I wake up to a text from my cousin, and she's like, I'm sorry to hear about your dad. And I'm like, what? So I call my mom, and I'm like, hey, like, did my grandpa die? Like, what's going on? And she's like, no, I'm talking to the cops right now. Your dad died at his girlfriend's house. And I'm like, damn. So that shit broke me down. But I was like, man, I got to do what I feel like he would have wanted me to do. So I still went, and turned myself in. That night, I still went and turned myself in. And that just, that whole experience just really changed me, bro. Like, I ended up getting 10 years, so I stuck it out. I didn't know how long I was gonna get. I was telling my girl, I was like, man, like, hopefully I'll be out soon, but I don't know. And they were telling me, they were like, we're trying to give you 16 to 24 years. And I didn't tell her that. I was just like, hopefully, I'll be out soon or whatever. I was just kind of comforting her, but she rode the whole time, no questions asked. I'm not one of those dudes that sits in prison, is like sweating their girl, like, where you at? What are you doing? Who are you with? Nothing like that. Like, like, just do you, whatever, like, I'm just happy that you answer the phone. So,
And those same guys are talking to other girls too.
bro, I swear, it's crazy. Like, my homie will call me from the joint, and he's like, yeah, I just went off on my bitch, and I just called her a hoe and called her this, and I'm like, bro, why are you tripping on her? Like, chill out, at least she answers the phone. Like, she loves you, like, you gotta show some type of confidence. Like, you're in a bad situation. Like, you need to show her that you're actually like confident, you know what I mean? And that's what's gonna make her want to stick around. So, but yeah, she wrote for me the whole time, no questions asked. Just, every time I would call her, she'd be like, I'm with my cousins, I'm doing this. Like, I wouldn't even have to ask, bro. And I wouldn't ask, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna funk with her over that. So she wrote for me, and that was a big factor in the change that I've made. Like, I still talk to a lot of my solid homies. Like, I still, I cut hair. I've been cutting hair for 10 years. I don't really have time to do it anymore, but I still cut some of my homies' hair and stuff like that. And, try to encourage them and lead by example, because I've been able to start some successful businesses. Um, and I also, have started day trading. Like, I intraday scalp trade. I trade indices and commodities, basically like, trade on the price of gold and invest in crypto and trade futures. And I have a swing account with my homie in England and one in Florida. Like we have a joint swing account and stuff. So I try to like everything that I've learned, I try to influence others that are in the situation. So I take that to the halfway house every day and I tell those guys what I'm doing and they get all hyped and stuff. And it's cool, man. I get to go to prisons, like facilities that are in Colorado. I get to go like speak and do like these in reaches, they call them, and go see these guys. Like I went to Fremont Correctional Facility last month with one of my partners with Daniel. I went with him and it was really cool, bro. I seen like 20 or 30 people that I knew and they were all tripped out, like to see me in there. They're like in these clothes, you know what I mean? They're like, so it's really cool, man. I really enjoy what I do now. I have some really great business partners. I have a really good trading mentor. I really, advise anybody that's trying to change their life to get themselves a mentor, like to like put their pride down and try to learn from somebody else. That's something that I had to do, like realize like I don't know it all. I don't know everything, and when I realized that and let go of my pride is when I've, became the most successful in my life, I feel like.
So after that first prison sentence, you get addicted to drugs, and then you get a gun charge that got you your second sentence?
Yep. I got caught with a gun like probably, I want to say like 2 months off parole. So yeah. Yeah. So that led to, just continuing the cycle. Like I go in, I do, anywhere from a few months to a couple years, and I would get out and do the same thing, just go back to the block and just hang out with the same people and just continue with the cycle until this time it was like a lot changed in my mind this time. I think my dad dying and meeting my lady was a huge factor in my change, my change in my mindset, change in my actions. My family's been a big help. My mom's great. My sister's great. All my business partners are great. I have great employees for my businesses that are really supportive and yeah, it's just great feeling, bro.
Why'd the judge give you a break on this last sentence?
So it wasn't. So yeah, let me tell that. So I was on parole when I caught my case, right? So in Colorado, they have something called the Fetzer law. It's like a case law, right, that everybody like uses. So like if you have, say in my circumstance, I got a 10-year sentence in 2021. My parole eligibility date wasn't until 2027 and my mandatory release date wasn't until 2031. This was just in 2023 that I had this sentence. But since I was on parole, all my cases were ran concurrent by the judge, so they all become one sentence. So your time earned becomes your time on this current case. So I got 5 years off my sentence basically like overnight, doing the legwork and everything, but it all became one sentence. So it's very confusing, but it's this guy in Colorado named Roy Fetzer that got like 3 consecutive 32-year sentences, and he ended up getting it rolled into one, and he got all of his time back, and he went through the all like the higher courts, the Supreme Court and everything, and it became a case law, so that's what helped me. I mean, that's the only reason I'm out right now is because of that. I would have still been in there until anywhere from 2027 to 2031.
Now, every time you went to prison, you were a blood?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, through since I was a teenager, I've never changed that.
And how does that work when you arrive at a new facility?
Well, in Colorado, I'm pretty well known. So, I mean, I know people like everywhere I go. So, I mean, this last time I knew, there's probably like 8 or 9 of my homies that I knew when I got there. So I fit in right away. But like when I was younger, it was like I got tested a lot, like maybe worse, probably most definitely worse than other races because of my skin color and stuff like that. But like when I like if I was to go back to prison right now, like I would be embraced, like no questions asked.
Who do the Bloods fight with in prison?
In prison, I mean, obviously the Crips and GKIs. I mean, that's really like the biggest, like beef going on without getting too deep into it. You know what I mean?
And are you the minority as a white person in the Bloods in prison?
There's actually surprisingly a lot of white bloods, bro. Like there's a lot, like from all over. I mean, maybe, like to how official they are, you can't really say. Like, we're like, and how people, in Cali are gonna view me. Like, that's really like up for debate or whatever, but I don't care. I've never cared. You know what I mean? Like, I know where I'm from and what I represent, and that's what it is. I mean, as far as like the gang stuff now, do I really care about it? I mean, not so much. I mean, I always say this. I always say this to all my homies. Like, I love the hood. I always will. But I hate my homies, like, because they're just like, it's just negative. But I say that in like in a sense, like, just from the negativity. There's so much negativity with people. So it's like, but I love a select few for sure, but it's the ones that are stuck in that mindset of you know like, I tell them I'm how I'm doing now, and they're like, oh, it must be nice. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that. I can't stand that
I think
jealousy.
that's with everything,
God
when
damn,
when you've come from an environment where people are kind of doing less, but then they don't really realize anyone could achieve that.
bro. I mean, really, I mean, but I think it's just I take it as such disrespect because it's just like discounting everything that you've done. Like, look what you built. You know what I'm saying? Like, you built something great. Like that's amazing. I really like. I think that's dope. And
Thank you, man.
yeah, of course. And when I see somebody that's done something like that, I'm like, man, that's like I feel like I could do that. Instead of sitting there and being jealous and being like, oh, it must be nice. Like, like I could do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
I mean, anyone could do it. I
most
literally
definitely,
started in
but
my car, making
yeah,
TikToks off an iPhone,
yeah,
and it doesn't even. You could have a cheap LG or Sam or anything,
anything.
a Boost Mobile plan,
Yeah.
It really doesn't take much to get started.
Yeah, for sure.
I think people come in here and they'll see like the equipment, and they see the space, and they see everything, and that doesn't just happen overnight. It's an evolution of it, and that was a part of my journey to achieving those things. I didn't just get all of that in the
Overnight.
beginning.
Yeah, it's
No,
not overnight. You have to take small steps, right? Like, you have to take small steps towards your goals. And I mean, I definitely see, how you've blown up. I've seen your videos, and I think it's amazing, and I could really attribute those same steps to my process and my journey. I feel like I've came a long way, and I just don't feel like there's any time in the day to be jealous, and I see that a lot. I see it a lot. Like, I answer the phone still pretty much for everybody that calls me from prison. I'm on a lot of phone lists. I'm on probably like 20 or 30 people's phone lists in prison.
and
And
they allow that communication with someone that's out of prison.
yeah, I couldn't even believe that they allowed me to go in there. I've been to 2 different facilities, and I'm like on the books to go to 2 more in the next couple months. But I can't believe that they allowed me to go in there. But it's for the right reasons, obviously. Like, I'm on, I'm doing it for the right reasons. You know, but it's just, yeah, it's crazy, bro. It was a trip walking in there, like, and especially because like every facility I go to in Colorado, I know people. So it's like I see them and I'm able to like hug them and say what's up and talk to them face to face. And it's just a crazy thing because I never thought I'd be able to do something like that. Like, even doing what I'm doing now, I never thought I'd be able to go in the prisons. And I just got an email this morning. This guy from the TC program at Fremont wants me to go in there and speak and stuff. I think that's so cool. I seen a picture of you doing that. That's exactly what I want to do. I just want to continue to lead by example, bro, and just show, like, especially people coming from, my specific circumstances, or like, ours, like in the justice system, like showing people that there's another way. You could start a business, you know what I mean? You could take, excuse me, you could take those risks, like it's a gamble. You got to take risks to get where you want to be, but like, you definitely have to, like, it's not going to just build itself. And a lot of people are just, they just come straight with their hand out. They just that's what they want, and I don't gatekeep anything. I tell everybody that I work with, I'll show you how to do it. I'll tell you exactly what I did. I'll show you how to start a business. I'll help you with your LLC. I'll help you get your EIN. I'll help you get the DUNS number. I'll help you do everything, but it's just really, a lot of people just want it handed to them. They want it overnight. It's that instant gratification. It's that addictive mindset that they just want everything now. You know what I mean? They don't want to work for it.
Now, do you think you could have survived in Colorado prisons without being a blood or any type of gang member, or do you have to be affiliated in there?
You definitely don't have to be affiliated, but you're looked at like, like a lame or an act, like when you're not, I guess, like, like if you went in there, you maybe run like with the white boys or something, like that's just how it, like you really, it's really susceptible to being clicked up. Like you're gonna be hit up, just like probably any prison in America. Like you're gonna be um, like targeted a little bit more if you're not part of a car, I guess.
Oh, so you guys call them cars there too?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
like the whip or the car. Yeah,
Yeah, so we
yeah.
go by that in the feds, or at least on the East Coast. I think it's different in some states, but most of the state guys I talked to that weren't federal have never called it a car before.
Oh yeah, really? That's
Yeah.
yeah. We definitely. I mean, that's the whip, like a run the whip. You know what I mean? Like that's yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, that's the terminology that we use out there for sure.
What are the
But
politics like?
it's really loose, like it's different. So like in California, I know that, I mean, obviously like I'd have to run with the race and, I'd have to run with like the blacks or whatever, like if I was on blood time, but in Colorado, it's like, it's pretty loose. I mean, it's the different sets, the different cars. Like you got Crips, Bloods, GKIs, Serranos, Paisas, white boys, and then you got like, the religious kind of like Muslims and that just kind of stick to themselves and do their own things and stuff like that. And then they have in facilities in Colorado, they have like whole units that are like, guys that might check in or be in there for the wrong reasons or whatever, but they call them like God pods, where people are like in, the religious pods where people are like on that kind of time.
How are the prisons laid out? At least the ones you were in, the higher security ones?
Um, It's kind of honestly, it's like a county jail, bro. Like, I mean, they get more strict as time goes on. Like when I first went to adult prison, it was more loose. Like you could walk around to different units and stuff like that. And, there's controlled movement, but like you could damn near go to a different unit, tell count time, and then sneak back or whatever. But now it's really like locked down this last time. I mean, you get 1 hour of rec every day. It's basically like county jail. It's like, county jail with the TV. You get a TV, you get to buy a TV and a radio. You get these canteen items, but it's basically like county jail, bro. It's like there's no programs, um, and that's something that I want to try to eventually branch off into bringing into the prison system is like more programming, more opportunities, um, housing, just different resources. That's basically like what I do as my employment is a resource broker for people that are getting out of prison. That's why we opened the sober living house, and that's why I offer all these resources to these guys in the halfway house and stuff like that, because that's what I want to do. I actually was talking to Matt. I want to start some type of like show, like podcast show, because they have tablets in Colorado where you can like listen to specific. You should actually look into that, maybe getting your show on that tablet, like whatever program it is. I'm not sure. That's maybe something I could email you later, but that's something that I want to look into doing as well. Getting some equipment, like starting some type of show for specifically that population to like, introduce resources to them or give them business ideas or talk to them about investing or financials, about stocks, about crypto, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was looking into it somewhat, just in general at different states and trying to figure out like a way to streamline it. It's not really effective for us to upload each one to another site on top of what we're already doing. But
Mm.
maybe if they're able to pull the links from YouTube and download it, I don't know how that whole thing works or if what those systems are like. But there have been people that reached out, not looking to make any money off of it, just like to offer those episodes up for free.
Yeah, that would be cool. I see a lot of your clips, bro. It's huge. It's effective. I think that it's really cool. I like this show a lot. I like the whole basis of it, and I think that it reaches a lot of people. And um, and that's something that I want to do. I want to give people hope, because it's like, I used to think that people that talk the way that I'm talking now it's corny, but I was stuck in that negative mindset, and that's really what it is. It's just like a lot of people just need to believe in themselves and find that confidence within themselves to make themselves a high value individual, because when you add value to yourself, you're seen with value from other people, and that's what gives you opportunities, right? That's what gives you opportunities in networking. That's why I've been able to network with people that are actually like high up in business or trading or whatever it is, in real estate or things like that, is because I've added value to myself, like I've taken those small steps to build, what's I hope to be an empire one day.
So when you're in prison that last time and you're a gang member and you want to make a change in your life and you want to go out and do better, how do you kind of separate yourself from the violence that goes on in prison or the gang activity, or to focus on yourself? How do you do that?
It all happened so fast. So I was involved in all that just recently, 2021, 2022, 2023. I was involved in all that. But I guess, I took a lot of risks when I was in there where I could have gotten in trouble and extended my time and stuff like that. I guess I just kind of got lucky. Like I knew how to move and maneuver and manipulate and stuff like that. So I wasn't really like catching write-ups. And like I had my younger homies to like send off to do things. So it wasn't until I found out that I was eligible for the halfway house that I stopped, like leading like Napoleon. Like I was the one like going in there like putting hands, and stuff like that. But it was when I found that out, when I went into my case manager's office. I still remember it like it was yesterday. Like he handed me these papers and I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, your Fetzer time went through. He's like, you're eligible for that, for community. And my stomach dropped, bro, like into my ass. I was like, damn, like it just got so real. So I went back to my cell during count time and I filled out the whole packet, bro, front and back. I even wrote like an extra page, like a letter to the community board, and I put it all together. And I was like, I turned it in the next day and I kind of just pulled back a little bit, like I think that was the real turning point in realizing like, this is not going to be sustainable long term if I continue to be on this bullshit, man. Like I started realizing a lot of these people don't answer the phone. So like I'm not going to reach out to them when I get out. And when they reach out to me, I'm just going to be on different time with them. Like I'm not going to fuck with them, like I'm going to really be on my program. And I ran into that like at the halfway house. Like I'd have a lot of people trying to influence me negatively and to go do shit and you know, to go put people on, to go back to the hood, to go do this and that. And like, I'm just like, nah, like I kind of had to pull back a little bit. And some of them understood and some of them didn't. If they didn't, they never said it to me like directly, they just talk shit. And I really don't care. I don't care about nothing anybody doesn't have the balls to say to my face. So, like this is really what I'm on. And anybody that means anything to me understands that.
How did the other members in the gang when you're in prison react to that? To you leaving and getting out early and wanting to change your life? The people that haven't had that realization in their life yet.
So when I was younger, you don't want to talk about getting out. Obviously, that, like, because I have a lot of homies that are lifers, even my cellie, shout out Leo. He's still in there. I still talk to him on the phone all the time. But, it's awkward sometimes, you know what I mean? Because you're all excited. You go back to the cell like, fuck yeah, I'm about to get out in like 2-3 weeks. But you can't say that because your cellie's still in there for 32 years or for life or whatever, So you really got to keep that to yourself. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I had an experience with that. I was doing, like a shorter amount of time, just a couple years. And I slipped up and said something about that. And one of my older homies got upset and he made me go do something to crash out my time, bro. And I ended up getting a write-up and I had to stay for longer. I had to stay till my MRD. So I mean, I just learned how to maneuver. You know what I mean? Like this time was a lot different because I'm a lot older now. I'm 33 now. So like going to prison this last time I was 29, 30, something like that. So I'm older now. You know what I mean? So it's a lot different. It's super different.
So would it have been unsafe to say in prison, I'm walking away from the gang, I'm done, I don't want anything to do with it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, you could be a target, definitely, most definitely. I mean, I've targeted people for that same thing. I'm not gonna lie. I've never said that. I've never officially been like I'm done with this or anything like that. Because like I said, I love the hood. I love it. And like I know where I came from and what I am, and that's what I'll be forever. But I'm not on that same time I was before. Like I'm completely different. Like I'm at home. I don't go out at night, like, and if I do, like I'm in the car, like on a mission to Walmart or something. Like I'm on my laptop a lot, bro. Like I work, I work all the time. If I'm not working, I'm doing class or I'm doing group. I'm showing guys this, or I'm taking them to go get bus passes, or, taking them to the DMV, or training my employees, or trading, or doing something with my investments, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like like I said, I've never said that. And I don't think I ever will, but I'm definitely just just different now, and I definitely think it's effective, and some people might not see it like that, but I think it's effective to be like that, because then, it's going to show others that actually can hold on to that respect, because I've never like dropped it and said like, like basically disrespected y'all, so y'all can look up to what I'm doing and potentially do the same thing, and in a sense, I guess, like leave it behind, you know what I'm saying? But I've never said that before.
So do you feel like there's going to be a negative connotation to being still technically a blood without saying that, or?
Most definitely, people are gonna see it some type of way for sure. But
Like if you go to a business executive and say, "Yeah, I'm a blood," but you
I
mean it in a
don't
different way, you know?
yeah, but I don't define myself as that anymore. I think in my maturity in growing up, I don't see myself as that. Like that's not like on my name tag anymore. Like it used to be. Like I used to introduce myself and say that. Like I used to say what hood I was from when I'd introduce myself to damn near anybody. You know what I mean? But I don't do that anymore. I don't see myself, in that light. Like I don't like, yes, that's a part of me. It's tattooed all over my whole body, you know what I mean? But I don't see myself in that light. Like I see myself as a business owner. I see myself as an investor, soon to be a father, like a husband. Like I see myself in those lights, and that's what's important to me. And that's the path I'm going to continue on.
What will you teach your kid about gang life?
I don't want my kid to know really anything. I'm not going to talk to my kid about any of that. Like I see a lot of my homies, and they think it's cute to like have their kids throw up gang signs and shit like that. Like I would never do that ever. Like I want to be very strict with my kids. I want to be in my kids' life. I want to be a father, not a friend.
Will you steer them down a different path than what you chose?
Most definitely. Yeah, 1000%. Like I want my kids to know that I love them. I want to have multiple kids. But I want my kids to know that I love them, and that, that I'm always there for them, but I'm not going to be their friend. Like, it's not going to be like all fun and games and shit, like I'm going to be strict, because I know what's out there. I know what, I feel like I've damn near seen it all. If I haven't, like, I mean, it's been crazy. So, I mean, I definitely want to steer them away from that. I want to be a father, I feel like, um, my parents were like my friends kind of, in a way, like they let me kind of do whatever I wanted to do. They were very loose and like, not as strict with me, and just like my mom, like we would talk a lot, and she would like open up to me, because she trusted me and opened up to me about problems, or what she was going through with my dad, or with my grandma, or with her family, or whatever. So, seeing her in that vulnerability, I think made me see her like as more of a friend than a mother. And I think about this a lot, And so when she would try to discipline me, I'd be like, yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like she'd be like, you're grounded. And I'd be like, no, I'm not. And I leave, you know what I mean? I'd be like, I'm out. So, but I do love my mom. I love my mom so much, man. She's so dope. Like I try to spend as much time as I can with her. I try to see her as much as possible. She's very busy. She tries to work a lot. She's just, a very, very busybody individual. So
How do you feel about your tattoos now?
I don't mind them. I mean, it makes me who I am, And if somebody was to judge me for having the tattoos I have, that's not really a person that I want to be in my life. So it's a good, it's not a person I want to have around me. So I think it's a good, kind of like a good pathway for judge of character. Like if somebody's gonna look at me differently because I have tattoos, and get the fuck away from me, you know what I mean?
Do you
So
feel like people prejudge you?
most definitely, yeah. But I don't care about it anymore. Like I think it was kind of dumb getting a lot of the tattoos that I got, because I felt judged. I wanted them, like I wanted that attention. And then when I got it, it made me feel some type of way. Like it made me feel like damn, like these people are looking at me all stupid. Like I go into like a store or something, and people were judging me, and I just feel like, I lose confidence because of that and stuff. So it was kind of like, I guess it was for the wrong reasons, but now I don't care at all. Like I honestly, I mean, it's just part of me. It's just what it is. Maybe I would have went a little bit different, but I try not to regret anything or look back and be like, man, I really should have done this different. Like I try not to spend time thinking about the past anymore, because that's what's led to to a lot of my bad decisions, is like getting stuck in the past or having anxiety. Like I used to have super bad anxiety, like enough to where like I couldn't leave the house, you know, like after being in prison and stuff like that, I'd get out and I couldn't go to Walmart. I couldn't do none of that because I'd be in like fight or flight mode. So like if somebody's looking at me all stupid, I'd feel like they were looking at me like I was a bitch or something, and I'd be like, man, like fuck is this dude? So I get all, you know, I get all amped up and I like start checking them, and then whoever I'm with is like, chill the fuck out, you know. But so you know, I've worked on that a lot, and I've come a long way with it.
What's helped you overcome that?
Support, most definitely, just support and talking about things, getting it out, you know, like getting it out in the open. I'm a talker, bro. Like I'm on the phone, not, I don't know if my bad about my thing was going off. My watch was going off. I thought I put it on silent, but it's my phone's ringing constantly. I'm always on the phone, bro. I'm always on the phone with my employees. I'm always on the phone with my mom or with my business partners, with Chris or Dan, or you know, with my mentor, with John, you know, like I'm always trying to learn from them, you know what I mean? Like my boy Justin, like I'm always talking to people, you know. I live with one of my employees, Jesus. He's really, really, really good friend, man. He was actually my cellie in the halfway house. So we live together now. So we've come a long way. It's really cool, man. So
What's your relationship with your mom now?
It's still cool. I mean, we're good. I mean, I think, like I said, it's crazy because I've always looked at my mom like my best friend. You know, a lot of people will say that, but it's like for real. Like she's like a friend. You know, it's crazy to think that you can have somebody that's just so like unconditionally supportive. She's just been supportive through everything. She's never like shamed me. She cares about me, and she tells me to be careful with, still to this day, you know, like like if I call her and I'm like, hey, you know, she'll be like, what's wrong? Like, are you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Everything's cool. Like, so I could tell she's got like PTSD definitely from getting those calls in the middle of the night and stuff. And from me going to prison so much and doing all this crazy shit, I definitely, you know, feel like she probably thought I would have been, you know, like dead or in prison from all the stupid shit that I was doing. But I have a really, really good relationship with her, man. She's a really good woman. She's dope.
If you're sitting across from your teenage self right now, before you ever joined a gang, got into any type of crime or violence or prison, what would you say to him?
Buy Bitcoin. No, probably that, most definitely. But just to have confidence, just to be yourself, you know what I mean? Like you don't got to prove anything to anybody. You could be yourself, you know what I mean? And that's probably like short and simply like put, that's the most effective thing that I've learned, is just to be yourself and just, you know, stop trying to impress people. You don't got to do this shit. You don't got to do all this crazy shit to impress people or prove yourself or anything. Like just be yourself. You know what I mean? I think that confidence is one of the best, um, qualities anybody could have, most definitely, you know. I feel like that holds so much value, and just you know, in any situation, if you display that confidence, you're going to get a lot further than you would have if you don't, you know.
I love that. Well, Alec, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, most definitely, bro. I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming,
Yeah.
man. I hope you enjoy the rest of your trip, and I wish you all the success with your projects you got going on.
I appreciate you, brother. Hopefully I can come back another time soon or something. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
whenever you're out this way, let us know.
Yeah, for sure, brother. I appreciate you a lot, man.